These things, I actually think, no one will be able to do them by themselves. But go back to the education question for a second. There's this new trend towards more personalized learning. All right, so now that we have the internet, these things, I actually think, no one will be able to do them by themselves. But go back to the education question for a second. There's this new trend towards more personalized learning. All right, so now that we have the internet and different tools to learn, some kids learn better by watching videos, some learn better by reading, some learn better by practice problems, some learn better by collaborating with other people or working independently. Having the ability to learn using the method that matters the most to you is going to help every child get ahead, right? Being able to focus more time on the things that are challenging and fun for you will help you get ahead, right? So some concepts you might just get immediately and others might be hard, but in today's education system, you kind of need to spend the same amount of time on everything. So making it so that the education can be personalized for each person is going to be a big difference. And there are already some early studies put out by the Gates Foundation that show that even for the first set of personalized learning schools that are out there, there's probably dozens today, but not hundreds or thousands. The outcomes can be as much as 50% better a year, right? Which means that if you do 50% better 12 years in a row, then that's actually 100 times better in terms of compounding. So, if we can help do our part to make sure that these kind of new tools for teachers to do an even better job of what they love and care about every day and come into work to do, and empower students to learn what they care about, then I don't see why we wouldn't be able to get to a world by the time that our children grow up where people can learn and experience 100 times more things.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for the introduction, kind introduction from the Master of Ceremony. My name is Tomoyuki NAITO, working for the Japan International Cooperation Agency. First of all, I really would like to congratulate on the successful delivery of fourth annual meeting of the National Professional Health Professional Education Reform. And I really would like to say thank you for this logo on the right-hand side, right-hand row. My organization's logo is on the top, is on the marked. Actually, Japan International Cooperation Agency is one of the organizations under the Japanese government who are dealing with the international cooperation, especially for developing countries. Then, since within my capacity or within my responsibility, today's presentation is relatively focused on the equality, possibility, and how ICT can contribute for those kind of aspects. Then the first video I show you, the video which was maybe a little bit of impressive for the comments or speaks from actually my friend Mark Zuckerberg. Actually, he is a friend I connected through the Facebook, but I never ever met with him. Last week, I was in the Laos for another occasion, actually another project. This picture was taken by myself during the weekend I spent in Laos, Vientiane City, capital. I saw this advertisement looks quite interesting. They say that learning is limitless. Laos is famous for the agriculture-centered economy. Over 70% popularity dealing with the agriculture sector. Then GDP-wise, over 40% contributed from the agriculture sector. Then left-hand side, the kids holding the smartphone. If you go to Laos, everywhere you go, actually we can see the smartphone, the kids doing something, maybe gaming, or maybe just Googling. But on the other hand, on the right-hand side or center side, maybe the parents or relatives or those that are, the adult people, they are farming. So this is a contract existing in Laos. And even in Japan, these kind of phenomena are still existing. Then just wanted to show this one photograph. Then in order to just introduce my organization, who doesn't know well about JICA, just quickly, JICA is under the Japanese government, technical cooperation, ODA, financial loan, grant aid, the three major schemes of our organization under the official development assistance. Then in Thailand, just for information, Suvarnabhumi International Airport, MRT, Asian Pacific Center on Disability, or these kind of the major bridges are financed by our organization for the construction in the past. So today, as I mentioned, within my capacity or within my responsibility as the so-called development worker or development officer, actually I really would like to touch upon about the relation between ICT and health. In Thailand, we also are dealing with a sort of telemedicine project. We are supporting the collaboration project in between Kagawa University, Japan, and the Chiang Mai University in Thailand. This project is actually to having the long-distance communication or distance medicine by using this kind of tablet and Wi-Fi and so on. Then this picture is showing that the sensor is censoring the condition of the pregnant lady in order to grasp the condition of the baby inside of her body. Then that data will be delivered to the central hospital or the central the offices in Bangkok City, the capital here, in order to ask for the appropriate advice or in order to ask for the appropriate monitoring of the conditions. So that is connected between Chiang Mai and Bangkok. Actually, this kind of telemedicine or this kind of ICT use health activity, nowadays we can see everywhere in the world. Actually, I'm traveling almost every month from Latin America to Africa. Actually, the global picture is my portfolio. Then everywhere I go, especially the developing countries, almost everywhere, I don't say all of the countries, 200, but almost everywhere I see this kind of project ongoing. So I should say that ICT is really enabling many aspects of actually anywhere in the world, which is actually really the fact. In Japan, this is one example of the very interesting recent device, actually, so-called D3, which is the toilet timing predicting device. This idea was born by one of our former staff. Then since he found that Asia is aging, Japan is sort of the leading runner among the global picture as for the aging society. Actually, our society in Japan, our society is really having difficulties or really struggling how we can tackle with the aging society. ICT might be one of the possible tools to help to solve that kind of difficulties. However, ICT is not the perfect tool. We know that. But again, this is very interesting example. If we put that D3 device to the surface of the here, the under part, just about just below the stomach level, then the sensor can teach to the application on the smartphone how much the urinal, the water is actually fulfilling the inside, so that the care worker as for the care industry, care worker can reduce his or her frequency to visit the patient in order to help whether or not he or she would like to go to toilet or not. That was one of the solution using ICT. So just example. So the fundamental argument is how should we consider the necessary adjustment of health professional education within the era of innovative ICT use society. Actually, during the last 2 days, I'm attending this conference. I'm attending this forum since the beginning, the Monday morning. I'm really impressed. Many discussion, different level of discussion or different range of discussion, different angle of discussion were happening. I'm really impressed. Actually, it's beyond my expectation. Then, actually, one of the other example I can say that just yesterday, Tuesday morning, I joined the sort of the discussion session. The title was, Can ICT Replace Classroom? That was very impressive. Then I'm really impressed by the one comment made by the one student from maybe the Chulalongkorn University, the female student. She said that, she pointed out that she was in the group of actually not actually agreeable side. Then she mentioned that if we look at the music, actually we like music. Everybody likes music, I hope. Then nowadays, during the digital era or ICT use society, everybody use, maybe many of you or many of us use PC or smartphone to listen to the music. I have a daughter who is the teenager, high school student. She has iPhone as a typical teenager in Japan. She's a crazy fan of the Spotify application. And she's listening to the Selena Gomez or Justin Bieber or Forever Japanese band every morning, every evening. But she, my daughter, she is still really willing to go to live concert. Then, Chulalongkorn University student yesterday morning mentioned about that kind of things. Actually, ICT can help to listen to the music, maybe through smartphone, during commuting, during walking, during at home, anytime you want. However, the people still need some kind of direct feeling, go to live concert in order to share the atmosphere, in order to share the excitement with friends or with others, and in order to actually feel something, actually direct dynamism from that kind of environment. So she mentioned that the both digital and live might be the best idea. That's what I actually understood from the translators translation. But I'm really impressed that kind of comment. I fully agree with that. I fully with that kind of comment. Then, if we look at the relation between ICT utilization and policy framework for workforce of the health professional. Policy framework for adapting 2006 WHO report, which is really famous. Working together for health. We are looking at the pipeline for generating and recruiting the health workforce during the last decade. Back in 2006, the Working Together for Health was released. Then following that, some of the policy guidelines were also released. Rapid scaling up of health workforce production, health workforce strengthening, and so on. 2011, transformative scale up of health professional education, that is also released. And following that, e-learning for undergraduate health professional education, and most recently, health workforce 2030 is also released. So all those timelines, the policy frameworks, WHO is proposing to our society. Then, as the development worker or as the development officer, and as the development organization who are dealing with international development, my organization is also looking importance onto these kind of the timelines. So human resource for health, what we are looking at is the human resource for health should be developed and increased through the building professional training facilities, curriculum development, improving the working environment to retain the health workforce. Second, improve the quality of existing health workforce through in-service training. That is also important. And third, establish efficient and effective management system, which is making policies and system for the training and recruiting of health personnel, developing database on human resources, etc. So those kind of three aspects, actually my organization's focus on the HLH. Then, as we understood the implication of the 2006 WHO report, entry stage, workforce stage, exit stage, in those three different stages, actually the human resource within their health facing some difficulties. Within the entry stage, shortfalls in policies, planning and pre-service education, lack of recruitment opportunity, etc. Many difficulties. After that, workforce stage, inadequate management and supervision, compensation, work environment, lifelong learning opportunities, etc. Still difficulties. Exit stage, attrition due to migration, career change, and retirement, and loss due to illness, conflict, etc. Those are all identified difficulties. Then the workforce stage issues is really dominating as their biggest cause. So return to the relation with the ICT or IT investment. We all know that during the past decade or even past 20 years, especially after the IT bubble, which was happened in the early 2000s, did IT investment contribute well to the aspect of this kind of health professional education or in general education? So one of the arguments say that computer per pupils in American school increased from 1 in 125 back in 1984 to 5 in 9, 2012, but little or no positive effect on outcomes, such as test scores. Another argument, which was identified by the report of OECD in 2015, said that no link between what countries spend on IT, information technology, in schools and their 15-year-old abilities in math, science, and reading. SDG, as we all know, Sustainable Development Goals, set to tackle with the many homework remaining from the MDGs, Millennium Development Goals, which is still requiring huge additional investment. According to the SDGs report, 3.9 billion will be required over 15 years for the additional investment in order to tackle with SDG number 3, ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. $3.9 billion, which is a huge amount. Of course, we JICA will contribute some part of that. However, it's really, really small. We also have limitation. we collaborate with World Bank, Asian Development Bank, WHO, other organizations. However, actually, all of the international donors can contribute very small percentage. Then we all know that. We also know that healthcare is labor intensive. Then digitization of health professionals and associated tech education are key early steps. According to the GSMA, the GSM Association, the recent report, Scaling Digital Health in Developing Market, stimulate adoption of smartphones and tablets by health professionals through subsidy, financing, and data-centric offerings is one of the recommended items. Again, if we go back to the scenario or the analysis of 2006 WHO report, what was the main issues to tackle? Health professionals require appropriate and effective learning methodologies during the workforce stage. As GSM Association mentioned that health professionals require something, and the health workforce requires something during the workforce stage. Of course, entry stage, exit stage, still a lot of difficulties they are having. However, workforce stage, which is the maybe one biggest stage during the lifelong health work, require appropriate and effective learning methodologies. That should be the main issues to tackle. I want to highlight during my this presentation. Then, as my presentation today is titled as "Can EdTech really change the rule of the game within the health professional education?" A game changer. What is a game changer? I want to highlight. Technology aspect. Internet and cloud changes everything. Within the advanced economy like US, Western countries in Europe, Japan, China, or other Singapore, or other those the advanced economy, Internet and cloud is already just a normal setting or the sort of the precondition when we talk about technology. Then, as I said, I'm traveling all over the world, especially to the developing world, developing countries from Latin America to Africa. Still, Internet and cloud are not necessarily the precondition. Over 4 billion people out of 7 billion people, which is a global population, are still not connected to the broadband Internet. That's a fact. And software as a service, SaaS, operational model of cloud technology begins to take key position in the enterprise CRM and to gradually replace older system. I think this part is really happening in current situation in this country, Thailand. So cloud, internet is really changing the rule of the game in the health professional education, especially the condition of the Thailand economy. That's my belief. Cheaper, lighter, and more reliable. Actually, security-wise, cloud is always argued that whether or not cloud is really safe compared with on-premise. But cloud nowadays is really secured due to a lot of the technology advancement, technology innovation. Another game changer, methodology aspect, education and technology, which is EdTech. The definition of EdTech is the study and ethical practice of facilitating learning and improving performance by creating, using, and managing appropriate technological process and resources. This is very important, actually. EdTech is to manage appropriate technological process and resources. Then from factory model learning to personalized learning by EdTech is nowadays really progressing day by day. As my friend Mark Zuckerberg mentioned earlier, personalized learning is making some different. I don't know, the figures he mentioned during the video is really dominating all over the world, but more or less, options for personalization have increased as personal computing devices, which is true, and have become increasingly affordable, available, even in developing countries, and developers create a software to support individual student learning. If I go to African countries, if I go to some part of the poor area in South Asia, actually I will go to some part of the poor area in South Asia next week. Everybody is still using a smartphone. Then the brand Oppo or brand the Chinese brand, which is really contributing to the people as the affordable price, affordable devices. So personalized learning, PL by EdTech, is really changing the phenomena or the environment or even the landscape around ourselves. But another question, is personalized learning really a magic solution for health professional education? Not every people can learn at most effective level only by himself or herself. During the last 2 days discussion, some of the professors mentioned that, or some of the participants mentioned that, because I'm an active learner, so I want to go for the e-learning, or I want to go for the digital learning. I really actually fully agree with that, but not necessarily every people are active learner. Some of the statistics which was presented by one professor was also mentioned that not active learners can really follow the MOOCs in the long run. Professionals require someone who can check how his level of achievement objectively. That is also an important part. People sometimes need some neighbors who can be competed with. We sometimes need some competitors, although it is not necessarily needed. The health work is fundamentally a human touch-based job. Thus, human touch communication and understanding are always crucial. Robot is good. As I said, Japan is really facing the difficulties of aging society. So people are saying that, why not we create robot who can do the care job, who can do the job which is really hard for the human. Good idea, good idea. However, if I get old, if I get over 60 years old, 70 years old, I really don't want to be cared by only by robot. I still need some kind of human touch. That's actually my emotional impression. So as the Professor Ponsak also mentioned earlier, the blended approach of online, which is personal learning, and in-person face-to-face learning may be cost-effective. One of the actually findings from the one working paper, US, though online learning courses have exploded in popularity over the last decade, which is true, there are countries to be limited rigorous research to help us understand their effectiveness. From our review, their review, we have found that relative to courses with some degree of face-to-face teaching, students taking online-only courses may experience negative learning outcomes. On the other hand, the effects of blended learning are generally on par with those of fully in-person courses. This suggests that the appropriate combination of online and in-person learning may be cost-effective. Again, as the development officer, and in order to formulate the financial loan project, financial granted project, we are always looking at cost matter, cost angle. So how to design the most cost-effective formulation or the portfolio is one of our biggest interests. Then maybe as you are the teacher, lecturer, or the manager, within the organization, within the university. Cost effectiveness is one of the major concern, I believe. So this message I cannot ignore, and you cannot ignore, I believe. So flip learning, many of them are also mentioned, not only at school, but also at the school, home as well. So online instruction and content, practice and project have to be flipped. Go and back, go and back. Khan Academy is really emphasizing this kind of practice. So necessity things to actualize a flipped classroom, infrastructure, course designer, course lecturer, and other things, especially incentives, motivation, encouragement. Those are the important part. As I said, 4 billion out of 7 billions are not connected, which is highlighted by the World Bank's recent report. And political level, we are really collaborating among the G7 and the World Economic Forum, which I'm belonging to, is also really try to tackle with those kind of difficulties. One possible solution, which is quite unique recently, the global constellation of satellite is also beginning, which will provide very cheap, cost-effective satellite network to the area of not connected yet. So right things to do, making the best of EdTech. Personalized learning must follow the evidence on how students learn. A less consequential forceful is technology means students do not need to learn, factual learn from a teacher. Make sure that EdTech narrows inequalities in education. The potential for EdTech will be realized only if teachers embrace it. This is important part, one of the key message of my presentation today. Last but not least, implication and recommendation from myself. First, educators in health professional education should believe in the effectiveness of PL by EdTech, but do not misunderstand that EdTech or PL is a magic solution, as I said. Second, consider and design the effective blended approach, flipped classroom. Third, consider provision of subsidies, allowance to students, health professionals, workers, to compensate personalized learning investment, which can be considered, I believe. The subsidies allowance might be a conditioned benefits on the other hand. So, sorry, this is last slide myself. Another points to be discussed. So not only how to do it, but who will do it? Who will really be benefit from ICT's advancement for health-related matters? Not only the health professional workers, but also the people who receive health services. ICT empowers the people to learn by themselves, for themselves, and for their dearest ones. The importance of knowledge sharing, exchange between the health professional by using the power of ICT is also increasing, as Professor Ponsak also mentioned about the importance of the knowledge management and resource sharing. This important phenomenon might urge us to reconsider the structure of learning curriculums for the health professionals. Again, this picture, PL and F2F are in progress, even in Laos. Thank you very much.